Welcome back to My Dad's a Lawyer, podcast about life, law, and other stuff. I'm Noah, son and lawyer.
And I'm Brian, dad and attorney. I don't know why I said attorney instead of lawyer on our little thing,
Well,
but
my little name says lawyer, yours says attorney. In theory,
I
same
think we'll
thing.
talk. I think we should talk about that at another time. We didn't do any research on it, but like, what's the
I
difference
know.
between lawyer, attorney, esquire, counselor?
I know. I was talking to someone about that. We'll get into it as another topic. I'm going to write that down for us to remember.
Fantastic,
All right.
fantastic.
Well, it's holiday
So,
season.
hello, this pre-Thanksgiving recording session, Noah.
Yes. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy holidays.
Yeah, I think this will be the first Thanksgiving in quite a while that all my children are with other significant others, which is fine.
Or halfway across the world on a honeymoon.
Yeah, so your mom and I are doing a pajama Thanksgiving, so we're very looking
Nice.
forward to that. Yeah.
That sounds great after a busy year.
Oh my gosh, and you know too, it's like just the last few weeks with business development and the holiday parties has been crazy,
I
and
know.
boy does it pick up after Thanksgiving.
I was gonna say I've had a few events recently, but that's nothing compared to how many holiday parties and everything I have going on in December.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean just so much going on. There's double days, stuff like that. So I'm just working on pacing myself. Plus,
Yes,
it's the holiday season. Today's nice and chilly. It feels like it should be, and we're moving in the right direction.
yes. I have a haircut later today, so that's why I'm wearing a hat because my hair is a
Nice.
little long.
Yeah,
But
right. We haven't had our haircut since the wedding. I have to get mine done
I
too,
know.
but I don't
And then
have
we
as
have the
much hair as I
Eagles
used to.
Cowboys later this afternoon. It's a 4 o'clock game, so it'll actually be on TV, so we'll be able to watch
Yes.
it.
Yep.
Won't
I'm
be out
very
of the
excited.
network.
Very, very excited. And speaking of holiday time, so clearly, traffic and travel has picked up like mad. I'm very glad none of us are traveling for Thanksgiving. It seems like an absolute zoo
Uh,
post
I'm traveling the
shutdown. And
most
just
probably.
yeah, well, I mean, you probably should fly out to Long Island, but
With
it
the
might be
traffic.
faster.
Yeah.
But there have been quite a few traffic snarls and accidents and stuff, especially here in Westchester, New York. So, what's going on, man?
Yeah, it's been a crazy week in Westchester on the Westchester roads. Recently, a truck caught on fire on the Tappan. Well, I guess it's not the Tappan Zee Bridge anymore. The Mario Cuomo Bridge.
Was not a truck. It was a bus.
Oh, it was a bus. Oh, wow. So it
Yep,
shut down
everyone.
2 or 3 lanes.
Yeah, yeah, it was on the Rockland side, I guess, coming into Westchester around rush hour or something, and the bus driver or someone said there was some smoke, so everybody got off the bus. He like got out his little like fire extinguisher, and there ain't nothing left of the bus right now.
No, it was crazy. It was a huge fire. You could see the smokestacks from like everywhere.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
it really was.
and then on 95 heading up to Connecticut, a pedestrian got hit. And this is an interstate highway. I don't know how a pedestrian ended up on the highway, but it
Yeah,
caused
yeah,
hours long.
yeah, good rule of thumb is don't walk or ride a bike on highway.
Yes,
And if your car breaks down, pull off as far as you can, put your blinkers on, and don't get out and go walking.
I know.
It's
It's really crazy. You would think that you don't see that many people walking on highways, but especially when I'm driving into the city, I see people walking, biking, whatever on these highways. It's crazy.
yeah,
So
yeah,
stay
no,
safe out there,
yes, please, please, please,
especially this
please.
holiday season when it tends to, drivers tend to get a little crazy.
And a little distracted. So,
Yes, yes. All right, cool. Let's move on to the old guy question. So we talked a lot about the difference between how we each grew up and developments in technology. So I want to know, what did hanging out mean before social media? Because nowadays I feel like people can't hang out without posting on social media, cheersing their drinks and glasses. So what was hanging out like before that?
well, I like to joke with some of my friends. You know, thank God there weren't phones and cameras and all that shit when we were hanging out as kids. And if there were cameras, you could always like steal the person's camera and pull the film out and expose it so that it couldn't, incriminate you. Um,
Right.
well, yeah, it's an interesting question because hanging out was still hanging out, right? You get together with your
Yeah.
buddies. You might be somewhere, but there wasn't this urge to obviously share it with everybody in the world to show, hey, look at what we're doing. Here's what we're doing. Um, and a lot of times, even like from the kind of not even when you're young, but even older, it was like, hey, I'm going to go meet some friends. I'll see you later. And that was it, right? You didn't know where people were. You couldn't follow them on Find My
Right.
Friends. You weren't seeing, oh, hey, what's Noah doing today? Trying to see what he posted or whatever. Um, and I think it gave you a lot of kind of just time to be with your buddies and do your things and explore and see what was going on. And then you come back and you get to, if you wanted to talk or tell people about the experience, whatever you were doing, whether you're at a bar, you went to a movie, that was it.
Right.
I remember, for instance, going to movies with friends. First off, that was a big thing, right? You went to the movie
Yeah.
theater,
Not as much anymore.
and no, not at all. And back in the day, right? You would go to the movie theater, you might be hanging out, joking, and then the kind of previews started and everyone calmed down in the movie and you watched it. Uh, Particularly in the city, if you would like be there a bit early, you have people with their newspapers or books just kind of reading, waiting for the day to get going, right?
Right.
The movie to get going. Now, you got to yell at people to put their friggin' phone away in the middle of the movie.
I know. I know. I haven't
So
been to a
I think,
movie in so long.
yeah, I think there's a little more, you know, not that it was more freedom, but I think there was a little more kind of connection because you weren't thinking
Right.
about this thing off to the side here. Oh, let me get a picture. Like there's a great app out there. We've talked about this at 1 minute in my life or something like that, where you take like a 10-second video of wherever you're at, and then you put your
Okay.
phone away. Then at the end of the day, it compiles all of your 10-second videos.
So you're not on your phone constantly taking videos or pictures.
Right. And they say like psychologically our brain, like the way our biology is set up is will fill in the rest of the images and pictures from the day. So
Right.
if you go to a concert, instead of constantly recording the whole thing, record a little bit, put it away, enjoy the music, enjoy the
Huh.
show. It's a
That's, I'm,
it's a really
uh,
cool thing because that's
huh.
how right. And to be honest with you, you have 20, 30, 40,000 freaking photos on your phone. How
I
many do you
know.
really look at?
I
How
know.
many do you really look at?
I know. I agree. I agree. And the whole 10-second video thing, it's a uh good memory thing to try to
Right.
like sharpen your memory and remember
Right. It jogs your
what
memory.
you
It's,
did
oh my
that
God,
day.
that really was,
It's like a
you know,
memory game.
yeah. So,
Huh.
so that's what hanging
All
out
right.
was.
Yeah, I always say like I'm like right on the cusp of like social media starting, and I said I had my
Yeah.
first phone was a flip phone and an iPhone, so like when I would hang out, we would still go to the movies, stuff like that. I would have my cell phone, but it's not like it is today. I feel like it's changed a lot in the last 10 years,
Well,
really.
I mean, even as you were a middle schooler, we had the community house near us where you would
Yes.
go and hang out like on a Friday night. They'd have these
Mhm.
events, and
Yes.
they had the game room. They had other things going on, and now I have no idea what that is. I don't even know if they still do it, and if they do it, most people are sitting there with their phones doing
Yeah.
stuff and whatever. And don't get me wrong, I love the phone. I think this is
Right.
amazing stuff, but at the same time, it's just different.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely is. Well, that leads us into our next topic. We're talking about technology. So we always talk about like cool technology, AI, stuff like that on here. So today we're going to get into self-driving cars. And we could tie that into the legal field. So there's a lot of self-driving cars, Waymo, Tesla, they're starting to open up in all these cities. You don't really see it as much in New York City, but a lot in like Denver and Austin and
I think they're
LA and
testing
San
Waymo
Fran.
now in New York City.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
so maybe it's coming to New York City next. But if one of these self-driving cars crashes, who do you sue? Who's responsible? The driver, the company, the software? It creates a really, really interesting scenario.
Yeah, so before we even like get started with that, so what we're specifically talking about is these companies have come out with fully autonomous cars. Right? This is not about you buying your Tesla and putting it on autopilot mode for the moment. That's
Right.
a different kind of scenario. This is in a lot of these cities, you basically have driverless cars, like in the movies, picking you up and taking you places. And it seems to make a lot of sense. But as you said, there's a lot to it other than it's like totally freaky to
I know.
see one of these cars or go in one of these cars. Like, who is responsible? So in the classic car accident, right? You're the PI attorney. I'm driving my car and you make a turn and you hit me. Okay. Forget whether we're both injured, not injured, whatever it is. Who is responsible or who is liable in that scenario?
The person that hit you. Depending on how it happens, but usually the person that hit you that was making the turn and missed the turn or misjudged it or something like that.
Okay, so let's say it's a situation where I have right of way and I'm driving and you kind of just make a turn without stopping, you hit me, I get to sue you.
Right.
So if I'm injured, I get to sue you. So I think that if you're in a self-driving car and it's, following the rules of the road and you do the exact same thing, excuse me, then I would say that, yeah, we get to sue you. But, right, these cars are supposed to be super sophisticated. So let's say this car is like cruising along. It's allowed to be, it's a 40 mile an hour, right, road, and you blow through the stop sign or you make the turn and it immediately knows, oh man, there's going to be an accident, and it slams on the brakes, right? So, I'm sitting in the back seat and I get like maybe I'm wearing a seatbelt, not wearing a seatbelt, and I get like thrown into the seat in front of me.
Okay.
And I break my nose.
Okay.
I mean, it's your fault, right?
Right.
Because you drove through the stop sign, but what about how it stopped? I mean, it's a safety feature to keep me safe, but it didn't keep me safe. So do I get to also sue the company?
Right. Normally you would sue the driver of the car that slammed on the brakes, but there's no driver in this scenario.
Right. And I haven't looked into it, but I'm assuming that these cars, if they're on the road, each car has to be insured. I'm
Right.
sure there's rules around that because all taxis or all for-hire vehicles have insurance rules.
That's ultimately what it comes down to. Like, even when you sue a driver these days, it's really their insurance company that's picking up the coverage and the defense. So you name them in a sense because they're the responsible party, but their insurance, and everyone's required to have insurance, especially in New York to drive. Everyone's insurance should pick up coverage. So realistically, if you do get into an accident with one of these self-driving cars, if there's insurance, you'll have the same coverage as if, or depending on the limits, but you'll have coverage the same way as if there was a human driver.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, if you're in a taxi, right, the taxi driver, right, you get to, you're a passenger, so you get to sue the driver of the taxi, you get
Right.
to sue the driver that hit you, which is different than what we spoke about in the beginning. That is, if you're in a self-driving car, right, with autopilot, I don't even know the full extent of what Tesla has as autopilot,
Right.
and the car does something that it shouldn't have done, but you were behind the wheel, even if you weren't driving, I guess you're still liable.
It's a very
So,
unique area. Maybe we should start doing self-driving car litigation.
you know what? Little niches to riches. Why don't we focus on some
Right.
self-driving litigation?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
we
that's
can
it.
use some AI bots to do the litigation, the
Against the
pre-litigation.
against the AI driving cars.
Right.
That's
Robots
great.
suing robots.
Yes, yes. That's great.
And
Right,
it's becoming more and more, it is more and more of a challenge and an issue because again, you
right,
have fewer huge technology companies, right? Tons and tons of resources. So the question also then becomes how easy or how difficult it will be, right? So in a normal situation, I'm from New York, I'm driving, I get into an accident with you and you're from New York. It's in state court in New York, right? Because
right.
it's New York against New York. Here is, yes, it is licensed in New York, so it could be a New York case, but it's also a huge company.
That's based out of like Delaware or Texas or
So
some other state.
is this now a federal case? And depending on the circumstances, federal could be better than state. There's a lot of uncharted. I won't say necessarily uncharted, but it's uncharted waters. But at the same time, um, there's a lot of history as to when technology changed. Because one of the kind of seminal cases for torts or for negligence cases in New York, in the country, is this Palsgraf case, right? Judge Benjamin Cardozo decided it back in like the 1920s or the
Right.
1915 or whatever. And it was all about this new, pretty new technology, the railroad, right?
Right.
And a whole thing about causation and proximate cause. So the basic rules still apply. It's just how we're going to apply it in this situation. In
Yeah.
fact, what if a self-driving car hits a
A
self-driving car?
self-driving car. I knew that was what was coming next.
And usually you pull off to the side of the road to get the insurance information. Who do
I
you
don't do
escort?
yeah, I know, and I wonder if they're like programmed to do that because they're
Yeah,
self-driving.
and completely aside from self-driving cars. So I was in Miami a few months ago, down in the Brickell neighborhood of Miami at an event, and I'm walking around, and it's this like really cool kind of hip part of Miami, and everywhere I looked, I thought I was going to get run over. There were hundreds of these self-driving delivery
Robots.
vehicles. It
Yeah.
looked like a beer cooler, like an igloo cooler on wheels. Most of them had googly eyes or were painted funny colors and had names on them.
Right.
And they were whipping all around making deliveries. And then I found out that they're actually like supposedly like remote controlled by people.
Really? Huh.
And I'm like, it was so bizarre. Like some of them went along, at a decent speed, and they were constantly stopping. Others were like, zip, 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 zip.
I've never seen that. I've seen videos of it, but not in person. Wow.
Oh, it's wild. You really
Huh.
feel like you're in some science fiction movie or
I
something.
know. I know. All right.
All right.
We got one
So
more topic for everyone
yeah,
today.
so I put this
This is a
topic on here,
favorite of ours.
and I wanted to get this, from your view too. So, um, you know, I think this is about expectations, and I think it's pretty important for people to understand. A lot of what we do as lawyers, right? There's a lot of transactional law, meaning it's a one-off type of thing. Oh, I need to close on my house, so you hire a real estate attorney who's part of the closing to make sure all the paperwork's in order. We have people who have accidents. So the idea is that hopefully you only have one accident. If you have one, we represent you during the accident, get you some money, and then it's over. It's a
Right.
transaction in a way. But, how you speak to your attorney, your expectations, and how your attorney should speak to you is really about relationships and not a transaction. And I think in
Right.
our day and age, there's a lot of grumbling in the world, right, of politics and just life, that everything is so frickin' transactional. People have lost that ability to grab the relationship.
Right. It is. It really does feel transactional a lot of times. And that's how you get treated sometimes by the clients. And, sometimes you just have to, like I am very passionate about what I do. Like I love representing my clients. And sometimes I get like emotionally involved in their cases because I am just that into it and that passionate about what I do and representing these people. But at the same time, some of these clients think of it solely as a transactional relationship. Like, getting services to get an end result, and that's that. Whereas, sometimes if the client has the same passion and drive and, similar traits that, I have putting into their case, I'm more inclined to, work harder and do a better job for them. Even though you're supposed to treat all clients the same and, try your best and get the best result possible. But sometimes it's just more enjoyable working for a client that's, you have a good relationship with and that's supporting you and is nice to you and not yelling at you and not treating it so transactional.
Yeah, and I think it's, it's incumbent on us to try to build those expectations in the
Right,
relationship. Listen, very well. I have clients who I've known 30 years. Who've become
right.
friends. I don't have to be friends with all my clients, and they don't need to be friends with me. But we have to build more than just a right. Self-driving car is a transaction.
Right.
Let me get in the car and go. However, how many times have you gotten into a car with a driver and had a nice conversation with the
Hmm.
driver?
Right.
You're more inclined to be like, man, if I could either get this person's number or use them again, I would be more willing to take his car service than
Right.
just a random transaction.
Yeah.
Right. And you just feel you're a human being. You feel a little bit better. You're like, wow,
Right.
that was a nice trip down Manhattan.
Right.
Right. And
Yeah.
and so I think we have to work even harder, harder at that because, the reality is it's a stressful job we're in,
Yeah.
and clients are in stressful positions, especially for what you and I
Hmm.
do. And 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 again is just trying to find that connection with them, even though it's still a transaction. Because one of the biggest bugaboos I have is if I have a client come to me and I'm like, wow, you're really familiar. And then I represented this person 20 years ago. And I find out they came back to me, but in between they had two or three other attorneys.
Didn't like
What
them,
does that say?
and
And then I have clients, right, that have been, as I said, with me 30 years. And I have clients who have actually even hired other attorneys, but still send me cases, right?
right.
Because
I know.
we didn't get along for some reason, but we developed a relationship, right? Because
Right.
what people expect us to be the experts at what we're doing, and we're good.
Yeah.
But I just see it more and more, and I think it benefits us to set those expectations, especially
Hmm.
around what you can try to get out of these cases. Because you look on
I
the
know.
news, yeah, people are like, oh, you got millions of dollars for a burn from McDonald's coffee. Guess what? If you looked at the facts of that case, it was horrific.
Right.
And
And people
and
just
and
see
the
the end result.
right. So
I know. I
yeah,
think managing expectations in the beginning of these cases also helps a lot with the relationship throughout. Because if a client goes in thinking they're getting millions and millions and millions of dollars, and then you don't tamper those expectations and explain the process and explain the value, then you get to the point where you're trying to settle the case, and the client's unhappy with you because you're not getting what they think is the full value of the case. So I guess building the relationship, I would say, is very important from the start.
yep, absolutely. And we're people, right? That's what it's all
Yeah.
about. We have to know the doctors, we have to know the other lawyers, whatever it might be. So
All
on
right.
that note, I am grateful for all the relationships that I have
Yes.
and we have the Thanksgiving holiday coming up. So just wanted to say we're grateful to all of our listeners and
Yes,
thank
we
you
are.
for supporting my dad's a lawyer podcast. And we're very excited for the holiday season and some holiday football too.
Yes. And eat a lot of turkey.
A lot of turkey. Good protein source.
Yes.
Anywho, I am Brian. I am the dad and an attorney.
And I'm Noah. I am the son and a lawyer. You can catch me on all social media platforms at a lawyer.
And I am at the Disability Guys. Have a great one. Gobble, gobble.